In this edition of Careers That Matter, I'm joined by Brian Scudamore, the founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, along with a couple of other companies he's going to fill us in on, to take a look at what his job looks like and the career path that led him to where he is now. Brian, welcome.
Thank you.
How do you characterize what your job is these days?
Yeah, my title is CEO, but I think really I'm the visionary, the cultural leader behind 1-800-GOT-JUNK and our other businesses. I've got a president, Eric Church, and he's the executor, the implementer of all the vision. So we're like this two-in-the-box model that it's magic when we work together.
So what does a typical day look like for you? Like, what kinds of things do you do?
Sure. So there is no typical, which is for a guy like me who's ADD and sees squirrels running along the walls and always distracted. The variety keeps it fresh for me. But it's a relationship business. We're all about people, finding the right people and treating people right. So on some days I'm interviewing some really key senior hires that are coming in or networking for those hires. I'm out doing PR. I've recently become a dragon on the show Dragon's Den. My first actual paying job as an adult, believe it or not, working for the CBC. So that's been interesting. Yeah. And then I get to have this variety in my day of different touch points to inspire entrepreneurship, whether it's some of the fun social media that we're creating for Instagram or LinkedIn, cheerleading our people and celebrating their success, talking to franchise owners. So I do a lot. I'm incredibly busy, as most people would probably expect a leader of a business to be, but it's always different and it's always fun.
So how many hours a day do you work?
So I've got a good rhythm of understanding that when I'm beyond 10 hours a day, I'm useless. So it's a pretty good average 10 hours per day, 4 to 5 days per week. And I often take Fridays off for myself and my own well-being. And I take weekends off completely for time with family and skiing and mountain biking and all that sort of stuff. I've learned through the hard way that the 80-hour weeks that I did for years, I tap out at 40 or 50. Why put in more hours and be ineffective? I'm not doing myself a service and I'm doing the company a disservice. So it used to be like a badge of honor. It's like, oh, I worked so late tonight and I slept at the office and all those types of things. But it wasn't, I was making mistakes. When I was doing all the finances and I was staying late to do payroll, I was making mistakes on people's paychecks and mistakes paying bills. And then you had to do a lot of rework. So I don't believe that it's about the number of hours. It really is just being focused and doing great work for the hours that you've got.
Part of what you do also, though, is imagine the future. Mm-hmm. When do you do that? Like, have you sort of bought into or adopted this idea of, I'm going to wake up early, but I'm just going to lay there in bed and let my mind wander?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer. I love the quote from Walt Disney, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. And so I love imagining big, hairy, audacious goals, whether it's getting on the Oprah Winfrey Show or the Ellen DeGeneres Show, or it's expanding our company to Australia, whether it's winning awards for best company to work for in North America. We dream up these big things, and then we just figure out a way over years or months to make them happen. So when do I dream about possibility? It's usually the times when I'm not working. So my mind still wants to think about business. Creatively, the shower, walks in the forest, time on vacation somewhere else with my family. But I'll be like, oh, that's an idea. And I write every single one of these big ideas down. And it's important. We've got this business, Shack Shine. We do window washing, power washing, gutter cleaning, and Christmas lights. And we came up with this idea. I came up with this idea of, imagine if we could partner with Shaquille O'Neal. Like, we'll go shine Shaq's shack. And so it was just a weird idea, and we put it up on our Can You Imagine wall, and I started making phone calls to people to try and figure out how I could get in touch with Shaq. And before I know it, I've got his cell phone, I'm texting him, I'm having a Zoom call with him, and then we had a lunch in Vegas together. And we came really close, actually, to doing a deal of a way that he would help us find franchise owners in a tougher community that needed some support. And we were both going to fund this idea of putting some cash into franchise owners and get them started and give them lots and lots of support. And it's just wild ideas that just are fun. And while that deal didn't happen, I've gotten to know Shaquille and gotten to know what makes him tick from a business perspective and what he's great at. So back to Disney, it's just fun to do the impossible.
And you built Shack Shine.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Wow. So you travel quite a bit?
Travel quite a bit, visiting franchise partners, different, retreats and meetings, involved in the entrepreneur organization. That leads to some travel, speaking events, traveling for fun with family.
Busy life.
Busy life, but a great life.
So what's so fascinating about people who have careers that are significant, that matter, they all start in different places. Where did it start for you?
So in terms of where my business and my career started?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in a McDonald's drive-thru of all places. I had had a lot of hourly jobs, as teenagers might have, and I got fired from every one of them, including working for my grandmother in her army surplus store. Grandma fired me. I just was not a person that did a great job working for others. I either had big ideas or I didn't like authority and all sorts of challenges. So I talked my way into college, being short one course from graduating grade 12. And I had to find a way to pay for college. My parents weren't going to fund a kid who didn't even finish high school. And there I was in a McDonald's drive-thru. I see a pickup truck in front of me, plywood sides built up on the box, Mark's hauling on the side, filled with junk. And I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy a junk truck, going to start hauling junk. And that funded my way through college, but ironically inspired me to drop out with a year left in my degree because I was learning more about business, actually running a business versus studying in school.
So what was riskier, getting started with the business or saying, okay, I'm going to drop out of school because I think the business is going to be my education and my life?
Yeah, I think, I took a big deep breath there. I was thinking through what's most stressful. Clearly, the most stressful part was dropping out of school because I love my parents. And while I wasn't the best kid growing up, I still cared what they thought, and they thought I was making a mistake. So when your parents try and talk you into just stay, you've got one more year, just get it done. And you're like, is that the right thing? And so I didn't like feeling like I was letting my parents down and feeling like I might not have the support and that I could be making a big mistake. But I still, at the end of the day, said, this is what I believe in my heart of hearts, and off I went. And, my dad, who recently retired liver transplant surgeon, thinks my story is just the greatest story ever now. And I remember, years ago, he's like, Brian, why would you drop out to become a full-time junk man? That makes no sense to anyone. It made sense to me.
You took a few other risks along the way as well. And at times, putting your company and yourself in jeopardy. Mm-hmm. How important is it that somebody who now goes, Brian, I like your story. I want to be you. Yeah. How important is it that you have that willingness to take those risks? And you think, okay, well, you took the risk to start the business. Mm. Well, if it didn't work out to begin with, what would you lose? $1,000 bucks. Mm-hmm. But now you've built it out for a number of years, and you've got investment into it, like your energy, who you are, everything. And still, you take the chance of risking it. Mm-hmm. Did you read Jim Collins' book or something like that? Go, okay, I'm gonna just. Here we go. I'm going to risk the company. Yeah,
Jim Collins is great mentor. Good to Great is my favorite book of his. I understood, I think, early on that you have to continue to take risks to get better. If we stay within our comfort zone, we don't grow. And so, even on a personal level, I'm out mountain biking with my 12-year-old last weekend, a couple of weekends. And we're trying to go down some challenging terrain, and I get off my bike, I walk, I look at the rocks, I'm like, can I do this? I can't do it. And I chicken out. And we went back to the run later in the day, and I'm like, I'm gonna have some courage here. I'm not gonna kill myself. I've got all the gear and helmets. I'm not going off a big, huge cliff. I'm gonna do this. And then you feel great, and you grow, and you realize you can continue to take on bigger challenges. I think running a business is exactly that. The only way I believe an entrepreneur gets confidence is by not just winning, but making some mistakes and getting through those failures, getting to the other side and going, okay, I did it. Now look what I can do. And then you take on bigger and better things.
What do you think is the most interesting thing that you've learned about yourself as a result of the career path that you've taken?
That's a great question. No one's ever asked me. I think the most interesting thing I've learned about myself over these years is how comfortable I am with failure and having the courage to step up and remind myself that I've got to continue to fail. The businesses we have are in such good spots right now. They're not perfect, but I could just cash out. I could say that enough's enough, but I don't want that because I want to take more risks, being responsible, of course, with the growth of the company, but continuing to grow and stretch my mind. I mean, I think people live long lives who can realize that you got to keep moving and keep thinking and keep learning and keep growing. I love life so much that that's important to me. And so I think that's what I've learned about myself, just that I've gotten comfortable with failure. I don't care what someone thinks about the fact that I failed, because I know there's a lesson to be learned there. Sometimes it takes a while to figure out, but when I figure it out and I get that massive aha, even if I share it with someone else, it gets us to a better place every single time. We failed. One of my greatest failures was we had a moving company called You Move Me. So we used to have 4 brands. We only have 3 now. It was 8 years of trying and just going, this isn't working for us. And what we realized, the learning that came out of this, we sold the company, we broke even, we gave it to someone else to try and do what we couldn't do with it. When you have your junk hauled away, someone points, junk disappears, you feel relief. You have your house painted in a day by Wow One Day Painting, the walls are done, wow, transformation. When Shack Shine comes in and does all the windows and gutters, and you're just like, I can see through my windows again, you feel good. Those are happy businesses. When we move, we feel stressed, stuff's broken, lost, disorganized. I mean, it's just chaos for most people when they move, even if their moving experience was a good one. And we said, this isn't a happy business. No matter how good we are, people are still stressed at the end of the job we've done. And so it wasn't the right business for us. And we made a tough decision to get out. And it felt like cutting off an arm in a way, because you spent 8 years dealing with this business and putting everything into it. But it's knowing when to give up and knowing when you failed to a point that it isn't worth continuing to try.
You ever plan on retiring?
Oh, I couldn't even imagine. Couldn't imagine. I mean, people get older, people slow down. I'm 54 years old. I've got a lot of energy and love what I do. So when I hear that retirement word, like I think back to, so I'm a year away from, or a little less than the Freedom 55. And I remember those commercials. And now that I'm almost there, I'm like, what does that mean? Like I am living the dream with everything I do, whether it's getting to be a part of Dragon's Den and inspiring entrepreneurs and inspiring our entrepreneurs internally with our 3 brands. I love waking up. I love what I do. So retiring, I'm not craving more beach time and more time drinking wine in France. I've got a great balance and it keeps me going.
Happy to hear you say that. I'm motivated by something that my sister gave to me some 40 years ago, written by Pablo Casals, the great Spanish cellist, and it was called A Salute to Life. And he said, on my next birthday, I will be 92 years of age.
Wow.
It's not young, of course, but age is a relative matter.
Yeah.
He said, the concept of retirement to me means to begin to die. Every day I wake up, I go to the piano, and I play 2 passages and fugues of Bach and Beethoven. And every day I discover something new, enriching, and rewarding in the music. And I think it's having that open mind. And one of the great things that entrepreneurship brings with it is you go, I want to just explore this. I'm open to discovering that. And I think that it keeps us alive and vital, and we continue to contribute. Thank you very much for letting us take a little bit of a look into your career and your world. And hopefully it inspires young people who watch this program.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel inspired just thinking through some of the stories and some of the connections we've just had here. So thank you for the interview.